He had ignored her for 3 years, every single day, without knowing that she had once been the only woman he ever truly loved. Daniel Carter was the kind of man people pointed at from a distance: billionaire, CEO, visionary. The newspapers called him the man who turned nothing into an empire. He called it survival. Every morning at 7:30, his black car stopped at the same corner in the financial district. His driver stepped out, opened the door, and Daniel walked the short path of polished stone that led to the glass tower carrying the name of his company. The city moved around him like a well-rehearsed play: traffic, coffee carts, people in suits. Everyone in a hurry, everyone with somewhere else to be. And every morning, at that same corner, she sat. A beggar woman, back against a brick wall, wrapped in a coat that was too big and too thin at the same time. Her hair was tangled and streaked with gray. Her hands were hidden in the sleeves of her coat. An old canvas bag sat at her side, heavy with things no one cared about. She never held out a cup. She never begged. She just watched. Most people passed without seeing her. Daniel did the same. He had trained himself not to look, not at her, not at any of them. If he looked, he might feel. If he felt, he might remember. One cold morning, the sky hung low and heavy with rain, the kind of gray that made glass buildings look like ghosts. Daniel stepped out of the car, putting his phone away for a moment. His assistant walked beside him, reading out the day's schedule. Board meeting at 9, conference call with Singapore at 11. The acquisition meeting has been moved to 3 p.m. because she stopped existing. Because as he walked past the familiar corner, the beggar woman did something she had never done before. She spoke, not loudly, not with a plea for money. She simply whispered his name: Daniel. The sound cut through the noise of the street like a blade. He froze mid-step. His heart slammed once against his ribs too hard. It felt as if the world around him stalled, the traffic, the voices, the wind. He turned, slowly, carefully, as if he was afraid of what he might see. The woman was looking directly at him. Her eyes were dark, tired, framed by lines he didn't recognize. But beneath the dirt and exhaustion, beneath the years that had reshaped her face, something familiar flickered like a candle struggling against the wind. He knew those eyes. He knew their shape, their intensity, the way they looked at him like he was both a miracle and a disaster. For a second, the city vanished. There was only her face and a ghost from a life he had buried. He stared. His lips moved before his mind caught up. Emma? The woman's mouth curved into a smile that had once lit up entire summers. Now you finally see me, she whispered. Then her eyes rolled back. Her body went limp. She collapsed sideways onto the sidewalk. Someone screamed. A coffee cup fell and shattered. Daniel's assistant gasped, "Oh my God, sir?" He didn't hear the rest. He was already on his knees. "Emma!" he shouted. "Emma, can you hear me?" Her skin was cold under his fingers. Her breathing was shallow, ragged. He shook her gently, panic rising in his throat like fire. "Call an ambulance," he snapped at his assistant. "Now!" People gathered at a distance, the way people always do when something bad happens to a stranger. A ring of curious eyes formed around them, but no one stepped closer. No one except Daniel. His hands, used to signing contracts and giving orders, now trembled as they tried to find a pulse in the fragile neck of the woman who had once held his future in her hands. "How is she?" a passerby asked. Daniel didn't answer. He only repeated her name, as if the word itself could keep her tethered to the world. "Emma, stay with me. Please, stay with me." The siren came too slow. By the time the ambulance arrived, Daniel's expensive suit was stained with dirt from the sidewalk. He didn't care. He climbed into the back of the ambulance without asking permission. The paramedic tried to protest. "Sir, family only." "I'm all she has," he said. His voice was harsh, desperate,
and something in his expression made the paramedic step aside. The doors closed. The city disappeared behind metal and noise. For the first time in years, Daniel Carter was not thinking about stocks or meetings or expansion plans. He was thinking about a cheap apartment with peeling paint, a girl sitting on the floor laughing at something he had said, 2 mugs of coffee on a tiny table, promises whispered at 2 in the morning. And the day she disappeared, 15 years earlier. He had never gone back to that apartment again. He had told himself that it was easier that way, that she had chosen to leave, that poor dreams were meant to die. Now, as the ambulance raced through red lights, every lie he had told himself pressed down on his chest. What had happened to her? How did Emma Reed become a beggar on his street? And why had she waited 3 years to say his name? The paramedic turned to him. "Do you know her medical history?" He swallowed. I don't know anything. Not anymore." The shame tasted like metal on his tongue. At the hospital, they wheeled her away on a gurney. Daniel tried to follow, but a nurse blocked him. "Sir, you have to wait here." "Is she going to be all right?" he asked. "We'll do what we can. You'll be informed." He ended up in a plastic chair in a bright, sterile waiting room that smelled of disinfectant and anxiety. His assistant bombarded his phone with messages. Board members called, meetings demanded his presence. He turned the phone off. Hours passed. He didn't know how many. The world outside his mind had gone blurry. All he could see was her face calling his name before everything went black. "Mr. Carter?" He looked up. A doctor stood in front of him, a folder in his hands and fatigue in his eyes. "How is she?" he asked, standing too quickly. "She's stable for now. Severe dehydration, malnutrition, exhaustion. No current signs of internal bleeding, but she has old injuries. Her body has been through a lot." He exhaled slowly, his shoulders relaxing an inch. "Can I see her?" The doctor hesitated. "Are you family?" His jaw tightened. "Yes, I am." The doctor seemed to weigh the answer for a moment, then nodded. 5 minutes, he said. "She needs rest." Emma lay in a small room, hooked up to IV fluids, wires attached to beeping machines. The harsh hospital light made her look even thinner. Her cheeks were hollow. The girl I remembered had been all fire and motion. This woman looked like someone the wind could easily blow away. He stepped closer, his chest tight. "Emma," he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open. For a moment, they were unfocused, lost in the white ceiling. Then they found him. "You came," she murmured. "Of course I came. What were you doing out there, on the street? Why didn't you tell me?" A shadow of a smile touched her lips. "I did tell you," she said softly. "Every day I sat where you could see me. I waited. You were the one who chose not to look." Her words hit him harder than any slap. "I didn't recognize you," he protested. "Not like this." "And you never wondered who I was," she replied. Silence stretched between them. He wanted to deny it, to defend himself, to say that his life was noisy and busy and full of responsibility. But the truth sat between them like an accusation. He had seen her without seeing her. Just another broken person on the ground. Just another weight he chose not to carry. He cleared his throat. "What happened to you, Emma?" he asked softly. 15 years ago, you disappeared. They told me you left the city, that you wanted nothing to do with me or my mess," she repeated, her eyes sharpening. "Who is they, Daniel?" He swallowed. "Victor Hale, the investor, the one who saved the company back then." Her expression darkened. The name seemed to drain the warmth from the room. "Of course," she whispered. "Victor." She looked away, her mind traveling back in time. "You remember how it was. You and your dreams, your little company collapsing, the debts, the threats. You were drowning, and he appeared like a hero. He was my only option, Daniel said. No, he was the option you chose. Her voice was not cruel, just honest. You sold him a piece of your company, but that was not all he demanded, was it? He asked for collateral.
His skin crawled. You think our child might be alive? He asked in disbelief. I think, she said slowly, that when men like Victor want control, they use whatever they can. And a child with your blood, raised somewhere else, could be a very powerful tool. The idea was insane, cruel, horrifying, and horribly possible. Daniel staggered back a step, as if he had been physically hit. Why didn't you tell me this earlier? He asked, his voice shaking. How? She replied. Writing you an email? Booking a meeting with your secretary? Coming to the lobby and asking your security guards if I could speak to the great Daniel Carter? Her tone was not mocking, just tired. What do you want me to do? He asked. She looked at him, and in that look there was no hatred, only exhaustion. Look, she said slowly. For once in your life, really look. At me. At what happened. At the people your success stepped on. And at the possibility that somewhere out there, our child grew up believing a lie. The thought of a son or daughter who had never known him, who might be living under a false name, hurt more than anything he had ever experienced. I will find out, he said. I swear to you, Emma, I will find the truth. About the baby, about Victor, about everything. Her eyes softened slightly. Be careful, she murmured. Victor is not the kind of man who lets go easily. Neither am I, Daniel answered. For the first time in a long time, he knew exactly what he had to do. Not for shareholders, not for reporters, not for his own ego, for Emma. For the child who might still be alive, and for the part of himself he had abandoned years ago. He stayed by her side until she fell asleep, her breathing slow and steady. Before he left, he spoke quietly, as if making a promise to both of them. I ignored you for 3 years, he said. I am done ignoring anything. Outside the room, he turned his phone back on. It exploded with messages, demands, threats. He called his assistant. Cancel everything for the next 2 days, he said. Everything? She repeated, shocked. Sir, the board. I don't care about the board, he answered. Tell them this is not negotiable. He ended the call before she could protest. Then he made another call. To a man who owed him a favor. A private investigator. I need you to dig into something for me, Daniel said. Old hospital records from 15 years ago. A shelter. A woman named Emma Reed. A baby that officially never existed. And Victor Hale. Start there. The investigator whistled softly on the other end. That's heavy. You sure you want to open that coffin? No, Daniel replied. But I have to. He hung up. As he walked out of the hospital into the cold evening air, the city looked different. The glass towers seemed taller but somehow hollow. The success he had once worn like armor now felt like a mask that no longer fit. He thought of all the mornings he had walked past Emma without seeing her, of all the people he had turned into background. He thought of a child, somewhere, who might be carrying his eyes, his hands, his temper, and growing up believing that his father had never existed or never cared. The weight of it all pressed on his shoulders, but underneath the weight, something else flickered. A chance, maybe, to do something finally worth the power he had gained. Days turned into weeks. Emma slowly recovered. She moved from the hospital to a small, quiet apartment Daniel rented under another name so Victor wouldn't notice the change in her routine. They talked, at first awkwardly, like strangers trying to remember how to be close, then more freely, rediscovering the rhythm they had once shared.
Old feelings resurfaced, cautious but undeniable. One evening, Emma stood by the window, looking down at the street below. "Do you ever miss the old days?" she asked. Daniel joined her. "The days we had nothing?" he said with a half-smile. "We had nothing," she corrected, "except each other, except the belief that we would build something together." He sighed. "I thought I had to choose between saving the company and saving you." "You chose the company," she said without bitterness. "I chose fear," he replied. "I let fear choose for me." She looked at him, really looked, and then did something that surprised them both. She reached for his hand. "I can't erase what happened," she said. "Neither can you. But if there's a chance our child is alive, then everything we do from now on matters more than anything we did before." He squeezed her hand gently. "Do you still trust me enough to do this together?" he asked. "I don't know," she said honestly, "but I'm willing to try. For them. Not for him. Not yet." But it was a start. The investigator called days later with a voice full of static and tension. "I found something," he said. "You were right. There are irregularities in the records from that night. The hospital shows an anonymous newborn transferred to a private clinic. No name, no mother listed. The transfer was authorized by someone from a charity connected to Victor's foundation." Daniel's blood ran cold. "And the child?" he asked. "There's a file number. No public adoption record. But that same number appears years later in a different database. School records, a scholarship fund. Guess where?" "Where?" Daniel asked. "At your company's scholarship program. You have a young employee, started as an intern, top of his class, raised by foster families. His scholarship was personally approved by Victor years ago." Daniel's hand tightened around the phone. "What's his name?" he whispered. "Liam Reed. 20 years old, works in your finance department. Smart kid. Looks a lot like you." Silence. Then Daniel spoke, his voice hoarse. "Send me everything you have, and thank you." He hung up and leaned back in his chair, breathing hard. Liam, their child, alive. Inside his own company, under his own roof, raised by strangers, used as a silent piece on Victor's chessboard. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. Then he stood. There was still fear. There was still guilt. There was still the possibility that Liam would hate him. But there was also something else. Hope. He went to Emma's apartment that same night. She opened the door with worry in her eyes. "You found something? I can see it." He nodded, unable to hide the emotion in his voice. "Yes," he said softly. "Emma, our child is alive." Her knees almost gave out. He caught her before she fell, holding her as sobs she had kept buried for years finally broke free. "Alive?" she repeated between tears. "Are you sure?" "He's 20, Daniel said. "His name is Liam. He works for me. Victor placed him there, probably to keep him close, to use him if needed. He doesn't know who we are." She clung to him, shaking. "Liam," she whispered, tasting the name like a prayer. They cried together. For the years lost, for the life stolen, for the second chance they never expected. Later, when the tears slowed, Emma looked at Daniel. "What are you going to do?" she asked. He took a deep breath. "I will do the right thing. For once." He met with his lawyers, not the ones who protected his image, the ones who told him the ugly truth. He gathered documents, contracts, evidence of the deals Richter had made in the shadows. He prepared a statement, not crafted by his public relations team, written by his own hand. He scheduled a board meeting and a press conference on the same day. Before any of that, though, he did something more important. He asked Liam
to meet him. They sat in a small conference room far from the glass and steel of the main boardroom. Liam was tall, with sharp features and careful eyes. He looked nervous. "Mr. Carter," Liam said, sitting up straight, "your assistant said you wanted to speak with me about my work performance. If I did something wrong, You did nothing wrong," Daniel interrupted gently. "You're one of our best analysts." Liam blinked, surprised. "Then why am I here?" he asked. Daniel studied the young man's face. He saw his own eyes, Emma's mouth, the mix of caution and stubbornness that belonged to both of them. He felt a lump in his throat. "What I'm about to tell you will change your life, and mine, and Emma's." "Emma?" Liam repeated. "Who is—" "Your mother," Daniel said quietly. The silence that followed was absolute. Liam stared at him, eyes wide, face pale. "That's not funny. My mother died when I was a baby. That's what they told me. They lied, to protect themselves, not you." He slid a folder across the table. Inside were documents, photos, records from the hospital, the shelter, the scholarship, and a picture of Emma, younger, holding a small bundle in her arms. Liam's hands shook as he opened the folder. He read. He looked. His breathing became shallow. "No," he whispered. This can't be real." "It is," Daniel said. "They took you from her. They built a story around you, a story that served their interests. And I was blind enough to let them." Liam's eyes filled with tears and fury. "Why are you telling me this now? Who are you in all of this?" Daniel swallowed hard. "I am the man who should have been there. The man who should have protected both of you. The man whose choices helped create the world that hurt you." Liam stared at him. "Say it," he whispered. "If you're going to ruin my life, at least say it." Daniel's eyes burned. "I am your father," he said softly. The words hung between them, heavy and trembling. Liam stood up abruptly, the chair scraping the floor. "No," he said, "you don't get to just walk in here and say that. Where were you all this time, when I was being moved from house to house, when I had to choose between food and books, when I was told I should be grateful for the opportunities the Hale Foundation gave me?" Daniel listened without defending himself. "I was a coward. I chose not to see what it cost you. I believed the story that made my life easier. I am not asking for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I am only asking for a chance to tell you the truth, all of it." He handed Liam another photo. Emma now, in the hospital, with IV tubes in her arm. Her eyes, though, still alive. "She's alive," Daniel said. "She remembers you. She never stopped loving you. She believes you died. She has been carrying that grief alone for 20 years. Tomorrow, I am going to tell the world what happened. I am going to destroy the lies Victor built. And I wanted you to know the truth before everyone else does." Liam looked at the photo. His voice broke. "She's really alive?" he asked. "Yes," Daniel said. "She's waiting, but I promised I wouldn't bring you to her unless you wanted it." The young man's shoulders shook. "What if I hate both of you?" he asked. "What if I can't forgive any of this?" "Then that will be your right," Daniel said, "and I will accept it. But she deserves to know that you lived, that you survived." Liam closed his eyes, tears escaping down his cheeks. "I don't know what I feel," he whispered. "Angry, curious, scared. Everything." "I understand," Daniel said. "You don't have to decide now. Just think about it. Here is the address." He slid a small card across the table. Liam picked it up with trembling fingers. "Will you be there?" he asked. "If you want me to be," Daniel replied. "If not, I'll stay away." Liam hesitated, then said quietly, "If I go, I want you there. If this is real, I don't want to face it alone." Daniel nodded, his throat too tight to speak. The next day, the world changed.
Daniel stood in front of cameras, board members, and reporters. He told the truth. He spoke of Victor Hale's methods, of houses lost, of workers silenced, of a woman named Emma Reed, a child taken. He did not hide his own part in it. I was not only a victim of these practices, I was a beneficiary. I closed my eyes when it was convenient. I let desperation and ambition justify the pain of others. Today, I am here not as a hero, but as a man who finally refuses to wear the mask that made all of this possible. The impact was immediate. Stocks fell, sponsors withdrew. Lawyers promised investigations. Victor Hale tried to fight back, but evidence had already been sent to the authorities. Contracts, emails, witnesses. The empire shook. Daniel stepped down from his position as CEO. He created a fund, using his own fortune to compensate the people whose lives his company's rise had crushed. He insisted on an independent counsel to manage it. He knew it would never be enough, but it was a start. Later that same day, in a small apartment that smelled of tea and clean sheets, Emma waited on a couch, her hands twisting nervously in her lap. "Breathe," Daniel said softly, sitting beside her. "If you want to stop, we stop, even now." She shook her head. "No," she whispered. "If he hates me, he deserves that right. I just want to see him once, to know." A knock sounded at the door. Emma's heart almost stopped. Daniel stood and opened it. Liam stood there, eyes red, face pale, the small card clutched in his hand. For a moment, no one moved. Then Emma stood too. Their eyes met. The world fell silent. Liam took a step inside, then another. "You?" he began, his voice shaking. "You're?" She smiled through tears. "I am your mother, if you'll let me be." He looked at her face, at the lines of suffering and love, at the eyes that matched his, at the woman who had been a ghost his whole life. Slowly, he crossed the room. Emma's legs felt weak. She was sure he would turn away, leave, hate her. Instead, he did something so simple and yet so impossible that it broke all three of them at once. He wrapped his arms around her and held on. She sobbed into his shoulder. He shook against her chest. Daniel stood a few feet away, tears in his eyes, his hands pressed to his mouth as if holding in a lifetime of apologies. After a long time, Liam pulled back, wiping his face. "I don't know how to do this," he said honestly. "I don't know how to be a son, or how to forgive any of you." "You don't have to know now," Emma said gently. "We have time. For the first time, we actually have time." Liam looked at Daniel. "And you?" he asked. "What are you to me now?" Daniel swallowed. "Whatever you allow me to be. I hope one day that can be father, but if it never is, I'll still be here, supporting you, helping you, without asking for anything back." Liam studied him. "You're really giving up everything?" "Yes," Daniel answered, "because everything I had was built on lies. I would rather be poor and true than rich and hollow. And I owe you both more than any money can pay." Liam frowned. "I read the news. You're going to be investigated. You might even be arrested." Daniel nodded. "Yes," he said. "And if that's what justice requires, I'll accept it. I'm done running." Silence settled between them again. But this time, it was not empty. It was full of possibility. "Then we start here," Liam said finally. "No promises, no easy forgiveness, just the three of us, trying not to lie anymore." A small, shaky smile tugged at Emma's lips. "I can live with that," she whispered. "So can I." They sat together that evening, talking in small steps, sharing pieces of their lives, stories, questions, anger. Laughter. Nothing was magically fixed. Pain didn't disappear. But something new quietly took root. A family. Imperfect. Damaged. Trying. Weeks later,